Ladies and gentlemen, how are you Rover havers doing today? So, this video is the follow-up video to the Abraxas and Ananke introduction. In that video, we spoke of the origins and some proof from the game to suggest that Kuro has used certain themes and associations with these characters. In this video, we'll be going over how Kuro has employed these characters and ideas into creating their own unique story, which means lots of in-game lore coming together. We'll mostly be looking at Rover because Rover is the link between humanity and primordial beings, being a celestial being themselves. So this video should answer many questions you have about Wuthering Waves lore, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Last video we ended off with the summary chart. This explained the origins of all these characters and how their concepts coincide and work together to make a world like Wuthering Waves. Some of the links we left open-ended though, and that's because of how Kuro has employed or used these characters to make their story. So now it's time to cover some of those links while providing some additional information. According to Chang'li's lore, her late master says a celestial being descended, wielding the limitless might of the universe, embracing the inaugural echo within. Inaugural obviously meaning the beginning of, so the first echo. We hear the same story from Yang Yang and Chixia when they speak about the Pangu terminal. So this link in the summary means that Abraxas was the first tacit discord, or in this case it may even be Thronodian, that was created by Rover or someone of Rover's power with their bare hands, thus creating the Pangu terminal. However, for a resonator to obtain an echo, they require a Pangu terminal. So how did Rover do it with their bare hands? Rover wielded the primordial essence, the limitless might of the universe, which in simple terms means the driving force for life. Through this condensation of reverberations and the driving force of life and the primordial essence, the world of Solaris 3 was born or reborn post-lament. So through the power of Rover and Abraxas and some primordial essence. This makes sense for Abraxas' significance in Gnosticism, representing time that both creates and destroys. But as we've stated, for a resonator to obtain an echo, they require the Pangu terminal. They take a reverberation and convert it to an echo through the databank. Pangu originates from Chinese mythology, where Pangu was a primordial being of creation, born from the cosmic egg, who separated the heavens and the earth. So here you can see that Kuro have taken this idea of Pangu and used it in their own way to create their own unique story. Rover, as we've covered as the driving force, and the Pangu terminal, which is the egg through which echoes are born. Ananke from Orphic cosmology is very similar. She is the primordial deity of fate and the maintainer of time who cracks the primordial egg that gave birth to the universe. This means that she enabled the potential for existence. Ananke also had children, one of them being Fanes, who is the generator of life and seen as light. We also know Rover was mentioned as a celestial being and is the driving force for life. So again, we have the exact same theme, matching up with what we've mentioned before and overlapping with a similar structure to Chinese mythology. So what this shows us is Kuro is creating their own unique story using this order and principles from different mythos and beliefs. But we can go even further. According to the Orphics, Fanes is also associated with Tethys, who in mythology is the nurturer of all. In Wuthering Waves, we have this character who fits the exact visual depiction of Ananke, same themes or power that Ananke has, and also has a strong connection to Rover, who draws very strong similarities to Fanes and Pangu. Rover is the leader of the Black Shores, which uses Tethys to nurture or look after Solaris 3 in a very broad sense. Now in the modulation hall, you will find this note speaking of the first instance and second instance, and how they control time and space respectively. The first instance is shown once again in the Civilisation capsule, existing in a dimension of time or time dimension outside of the material world. This is known as the temporal plane. Again, this is something relating directly to Ananke in literature, so another piece of evidence that she is Ananke. One question that comes up is, how is Ananke created from Tethys as the first instance, like Shorekeeper is the second instance, existing as this unknown goddess? To answer that, we need to look at CBT1 lore, where also mentions the reincarnator. This is a suggestion that Shorekeeper is a reincarnation of some power. This may be Ananke's power as the first instance and the start of the existence of time that has fragmented to space and Shorekeeper. Fragmented power is something that already exists in Wuthering Waves. The Eye of Ananke in Septimont as a power for foresight or fate, the Eye of Asteria as a power for observing reverberations and resonance, Rover having revived the Thronodians when their power escaped upon landing in this timeline, Sentinel's resonators, Thronodians resonators, Leviathan's failures, crownless copies. There's a lot of it. Again, we don't have all the details or information to make it conclusive in-game yet, but we kind of do at the same time, just not in simple terms. We know that Black Shores and Rover aim to combat fate or predetermination, which is the destruction of Solaris 3 by the True Lament. And again, fate or predetermination equals Ananke. So the question is, what is the opposite force of inevitable fate? It's something that everybody in their life asks or debates about, at least in their mind, once in their lifetime. The answer is free will. Fate versus free will. Rover is the free will, and Ananke is the fate. This doesn't mean Ananke is evil. Ananke just maintains all of time and knows all fate. And this is why she is depicted as sad. And Rover is the seed of fate, who will combat predetermination, the only one that brings joy to Ananke. And the proof is already there. All of Rover's feats so far have been about free will. Facing Fleur-de-Lis.
But I prefer to handle this my way.
Saving erasing their own memories. By erasing your own memories, you are starting new. It's like starting research from over without any information. So, before the final piece of the puzzle that ties all of this together, let's do a bit of a recap. We have Fate, who we are calling Ananke. Ananke is mentioned in the game already, but it has not been clearly indicated as the name for this character on screen. This character on screen fits the modern day pop culture description of Ananke. And no, it's not her name from a past CBT either. It was theorized that she is Ananke, and the first confirmed case of Ananke is in Septimont. Ananke also has other names like Mother Time, Adraste, Tekmor, Necessitas, but Ananke is the most common. We also have Asteria, which is able to read reverberations. Asteria is again from Greco-Roman mythology and the Orphics, just like Ananke, except Asteria is the titaness of the stars and divination by dreams and stars. In modern depictions, Asteria has the blue to purple shades of hair, but sometimes she does have lighter shades of hair. The reason she mainly has dark shades is because stars are not visible to us on Earth during the day, only when it's dark or at night. She also mainly wears a deep blue or purple robe with some astral details. Interestingly enough, Asteria is the daughter of Phoebe and the mother of Hecate, but I don't think Kuro is using the lineage of characters, they're just using what they represent. We also know that at least one ancient civilization existed, which is referred to as the He civilization. The people of this civilization are referred to as divine beings. Some experiments in the courts of Savante use technology known as observation devices to be able to see things not possible to the human eye. So it is possible that these observation devices are related to the Eye of Ananke and the Eye of Asteria. Not directly related to their power, but the power of possibly another primordial being, so like the Eye of Selene or something along those lines. Then we get to the Black Shores, and the code in the teaser mentions #include HE Civilization AH, which is the name of the civilization and a time period or group of that civilization. It also includes 3 tools, which is Shorekeeper, Triple X, and Rover. So possibly Shorekeeper, Ananke or Asteria, and Rover. Tethys is able to connect to the stars and control them with sound. So there is evidence for the power of Asteria in play with Tethys. Stars are important to Wuthering Waves lore, as they used to be the tested marks of resonators in CBT1 and the technical test. Today they are frequency shaped, but resonance is still connected to the stars. That is why every time a character is drop marketed, it says post-Lament Anthropocene, stars intertwined. Stars are most likely being used to hold the information of Solaris 3 and their frequencies. To create a resonator, a star that has the character's frequency stored as information and a star that has the frequency of their forte need to intertwine. This checks out and makes it true that Tethys is from a powerful ancient or He civilization linked to primordial, celestial, or divine beings. So what happened to this ancient civilization? Well, let's say the He civilization is not the entire ancient civilization. Instead, let's say the He refers to the primordial deities that lived together or in harmony with ancient humanity. So Ananke, Asteria, and other primordial beings lived with humans. They created the advanced devices and objects that are being used and studied today. These primordials ruled over the humans, but they were also a mixture of good and evil. Some of the primordials were good, and some of them had malicious or evil intent. Then along came the Lament, an unknown phenomenon which split the heavens and the earth, therefore separating humanity and the primordial beings. The Lament also changed the laws of nature, with gravity being the only exception. And this piece of information is what reveals the true nature of the gates and all the background information. A god in ancient literature was viewed as one who exists beyond the laws of nature. The concept of time exists as part of that boundary of the laws of nature. So Ananke, or fate, exists outside of time, therefore she is a goddess unaffected by the catastrophe or destruction. In Wuthering Waves, the Court of Savante mentions the divine miracle. So, what group of people believes that this miracle happened within the laws of nature or the human realm? The Fractsidus. So that gate that the Fractsidus are in search of is to evolve humanity from being bound by the laws of nature to being above the laws of nature. And so the leader of the Fractsidus, Swatchloch, could be from the same roots as Rover, which would be Erebus, the dark mist or the black flame. Both Erebus and Fanes are children of Ananke in literature, so it is possible that just as Rover is a celestial being, Swatchloch is also a celestial being. The Swatch in Swatchloch means black or darkness, and that comes from different dialects in German, Dutch, and Afrikaans. This would explain why Mingting never had records on a resonator who could take another's form and body, because Swatchloch is a celestial being. So Ananke, Fanes, and Erebus, fate birthing light and darkness. Ananke sending Rover, who is Spectro, and then the Swatchloch being darkness. Doesn't necessarily mean havoc, just darkness. This is yet another way for the Fractsidus to be the waystones for Rover.
We were once your waystones.
Both are in search of a way to break through the predetermined fate. The Fractsidus by evolving above the laws of nature, and Rover through free will. But time being able to reconstruct through Rover is something that the Fractsidus do not have the power of. However, the disasters of different timelines are now converging to this timeline of Wuthering Waves. And as for the leader of the Fractsidus, being Erebus is not the full story, it's not just a copy and paste. Schwarzloch also has different personalities or different ideas that overlap with Erebus, such as representing Loki or Satan or treachery from Dante's Inferno, but that's for an upcoming video. That was a mouthful of information, but this is the beauty of Wuthering Waves lore. Only time will reveal the answers and how crew have created their own unique story, but the basis of story writing has existed thanks to the ancient world. So my final thought I leave to you is, what do you think would happen if the Fractsidus turned their gaze from obtaining Rover and allying with Rover to allying or capturing Shorekeeper instead? Let me know your thoughts below, and I will see you in the next video.